and welcome back to Bourbon Barrel Talk. I'm your host, Scott Minton. Today we are sitting down. We're just going to say it at a buddy's house because he hasn't named his bourbon bunker yet. So, Mr. Chris, how you doing today, sir?
Very good. Thanks for coming over.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. I'm glad to have the invite. So, we also have John. John?
I'm down here.
Yep. You said I'm down here someplace?
I'm down here on the end.
Now, John's got the different mic setup that I've ever seen, and he configured it himself, so I'm proud of you, man.
Sitting back relaxed.
That's right. He's got the chilling version of the mic here going. And then Seth. What's up, Seth?
What's up, Scott? How are you?
Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
So Seth's never been on the show, but Seth and I have done a couple of bottle shares with Mr. Oldfo fanboy himself. So I'm glad to get you on the show today, man.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, boys.
No problem. So, hey, the reason I'm here today is because you guys had the opportunity to do, what was your second barrel pick at Starlight for your all's personal group, and it's called Liquid Assets, I think you call it.
That's correct.
Yep. I'm a banker by day, and obviously looking at personal financial statements and whatnot, looking at my own collection and thinking, wow, this is so dumb how much money I've spent
You don't
It's really cool
on bourbon. So we just kind of thought, these are liquid assets here. But that's the premise of the name. We've got a monopoly theme kind of running with the label, and then which you can't see, but you might have a picture of it, Scott, for the podcast. We do custom labels that resemble community chest or chance cards, and we just kind of customize those. So any barrel pick that we do, no matter what distiller it's going to come from, we're going to keep running with that theme of a chance card that we customize.
Sweet. I would get a chance card, put like the waterworks on there, and put your wives all crying because of how much money you spent on bourbon.
That is a great idea.
That's a great idea.
Next sticker.
That is the next one. That is the next one.
Now I just got to go on the pick with you guys.
Yeah.
So all right, so this one is is it a bourbon or is it a rye finished in Armagnac or something like that?
Yeah, this is a bourbon. It's a 4-year. Bottled at 109.6 proof.
109.6, huh?
Yep.
And bourbon finished in an Armagnac cask.
Correct. Yep.
All right. So what is everybody getting off this bad boy? You guys have already tried it, so I'll let you take a sip and smell it and all that good stuff. And the nose is very delicate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love the nose on this stuff, and I traditionally like the Armagnac, but like you, Scott, I don't like cognac, but I love the nose on this stuff.
Yeah. No, it definitely has a unique nose. It's very delicate, light. You pick up quite a bit of the fruit from that Armagnac.
You're not harsh at all.
I wonder what kind of cask this was, as far as like what France, what part of France it came out of. Because Armagnac, I think it has to come out of a certain region. I don't know if it'll tell that on the back of the story or anything like that.
Isn't it the Armagnac region?
Well, yeah, the Armagnac region. But yeah, so the Armagnac region has basically, I think it's 3 different components to it. It all runs along a lake and a mountain ridge, if I remember correctly. But yeah, they have to come from that region, and they have to be like certain areas, and certain areas have different types of grapes, and therefore they're different varieties or things like that. Like you have the Incantas and different things like that. So
John got a picture of the barrel, but I don't know that we paid attention, to be honest with you.
Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah. We can revisit.
Yeah. So
if we know.
I will say I'm less qualified than I used to be because my first round of COVID, all taste and smell gone, but unfortunately enough, bourbon was one of the last things to come back to me. It's been back for about 5 months.
Really? That's
really?
it?
Yeah.
Man,
it sucked.
If I get COVID, which I haven't had it, knock on wood, man, I hope I don't lose my sense of taste, especially for bourbon. So
it was really easy to drink cheap bourbon.
So a buddy of mine, he got COVID early on, and he literally almost can't drink bourbon to this day. And I mean, he's like 2 years in, and he's like, it just doesn't taste right. It's just, there's something wrong. So,
when we were picking this barrel, we were having a conversation about COVID, and if you're a master distiller, like, I wonder if anyone's told that story. Hey, I got COVID. I'm a master distiller. It has affected the way that I do the craft. Have you heard anything like that?
So I haven't actually talked to anybody that said that, but that's an interesting question that would be a follow up on something to somebody in the future.
I don't think they would advertise that very heavily.
I wouldn't think so.
Probably not. So
Scott, what do you get on that nose? I'm going to be honest. I'm working on those tasting notes. I just know what I like.
yeah. So it's delicate. It's fruit. I almost get more of like a stone fruit, like big, like a plum, something like that. In the aroma, I get a faint amount of leather, and then it's got some sweetness, some vanilla.
Vanilla is the first thing that hits me.
Yes, the vanillas.
But I don't get any caramel or like toffee or any of those like more like robust sweet flavors on the nose.
Kind of when I pull my nose away is when I can get a little bit of the familiar grapey, light grapey that you get with an Armagnac.
Yeah, but and I always I sniff in a couple of different ways. Like I get on the bridge of the nose, and that'll give you a little bit more of your delicate, so you can pick up stuff, and then the tip of your nose, and then I do each nostril. So
each nostril, okay.
Yeah, so I'll do one side. Because for some strange reason, most people you have maybe your right side's a little blocked or your left side's a little blocked because of like whatever it might be. So if you go to each side, you typically will get something or a variance of each one of those things. So,
I've not tried that, but I do sense that now that you're telling me that. Yeah.
Broke my nose when I was 16, so my left side's always, since then, been more blocked than all the other sides.
Yeah,
so I could never be a master distiller.
I have a deviated septum, so I've always had problems with my right nostril, but that's the one I typically smell the most in just because whenever I'm doing these podcasts and things like that, the mic is usually on my left and I smell to the right. So, but I will always go to the left if there's like something that I'm really, really trying to pick up on. And I usually start picking up more of my citrus scents and stuff like that on my left nostril. Don't know why. I don't know if I'm broken or if it's just some weird innate skill that I've picked up.
So. We're going to go with that. I like that one better.
Weird innate skill. But yeah, I really do that. But I tell you, it drinks a little bit harsher than I thought it was going to do with the nose. So I mean, the fruit, that Armagnac, that barrel really comes through on that. So
there's nothing on the barrel that indicated
nothing.
No.
Yeah, I didn't think there would be because a lot of those anyway, they're whiskey barrels that have come in from other places, so it makes it different. And then I don't even know how Starlight did that. I don't know if that's the second run they put in that barrel or if it's the first run they had in that Armagnac barrel, because I know they'd released a handful before then, so you'll get some different flavors profiles just because of that, how long has bourbon been in there versus the Armagnac.
Sure.
Did we know how long the Armagnac, it was finished in the Armagnac barrel?
We actually do not. I don't know that we asked that
I
question.
don't know if we asked
It'd be
the question.
interesting if it was a 30 versus a 14 or something,
And most of them take around, well, I think you're asking how long did it sit in the actual barrel, and if that's
how long
the case,
did the Armagnac sit in?
No, how long did the bourbon sit in
How
the
long
Armagnac
did our
barrel?
bourbon sit in that barrel?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We didn't
That's
ask.
what I'm asking.
Most of them are probably 5-6 months. I mean, that's pretty standard. Sometimes you'll get one that if it's a wet enough barrel, like as in they didn't pour it all out, they don't take quite as long to pick up the flavor profile. But typically, you're looking at least 4 to 5, 6 months, and that's on the low side, I think, for most Armagnacs to come through, especially on bourbon. Rye would probably take a little less time, I think, because the fruit, especially the way that Ted distills, because I think he distills a lot of the fruit forward flavors on his ryes. So
Makes sense. Yeah.
is that a Ted, or did you all know, or Blake, or did they tell you?
They did not tell us.
Man,
I bet it's on that barrel.
We need to be writing down these questions for next time.
They're good questions.
well, I always find that they all distill in their own special way, right? So it seems like Ted is very traditional, 60-20-20. Like that's kind of his bread and butter, which is why I have a tendency to like Ted's probably more often, more consistently. But Blake will do some crazy nuances, and then Christian, I mean, he's all over. I mean, he does all kinds of cool things. I think Christian does. Like I think the first 4 grain we got was a Christian barrel, and I think he did it when he was like 18 or 19 years old. Like it was one of the first barrels he ever distilled.
Wow.
So, well, I guess legally distilled or whatever. But,
Sure.
But yeah, it's just one of those funny things that I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. But it was such a delicious, and it was a cherry bomb. I mean, just a complete, just all kinds of cherry and stuff like that. So
Whose pick did you like better on that last cigar batch between Blake and Christian? Did you remember tasting that?
I bought the one that.
Bronze?
So no. I don't remember the colors. I just remember who poured it. So Blake was pouring it. So was Christian's bottle, because they were tricking everybody.
Yep. I liked Blake's better on that one.
I did too.
It was a rye.
Yeah. So, but I was more on the Christian side for that one. The funny thing is the first one that they did, I was Blake. The second one I think they did, I was Blake. And then I think this last one I picked Christian. So when you guys went through the barrel pick, what made you go with this instead of a traditional rye or traditional bourbon? Or
It's funny because
one of the other million finishes that they do.
we went in with the mission of we wanted to pick a traditional street bourbon. That's what we were going to try to do. And we started tasting some that they're all right. But kind of left us wanting a little bit, So Andrew Drudonic, he knew that we had picked a port finish previously. And he's like, well, guys, you got to try this port finish. And then we tried it, and we're like, oh.
It's better than everything we've had so far.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we were like, man, we cannot, we don't want to pick another port because
Right, you already done one.
we'd done a port. Let's pick something different. We had toyed with the idea of getting an Armagnac because of the fact that over last summer, we popped the La Encantada 18-year. We all really enjoyed it, and we're like, you know what? Let's stop hunting bourbon. Let's start hunting Armagnac. And he had told us, he's like, well, I've got an Armagnac finish. We're like, oh,
Let's
can
try
we
it.
taste
Let's
it?
try it. Yeah.
And we did, and we're like, all right, I think that's got to go in the blind.
So what's one of your more traditional flavor palettes do you like, John?
As far as
Like, do you prefer rye? Do you prefer bourbon? Like, do you prefer like a finished product? I mean, some people do.
before doing all this at Starlight, I was more traditional, to be quite honest. But this has kind of turned me on to, I don't know. It just, I would say before this is just more traditional, but now their stuff is good.
So were you
their finished stuff is?
Were you like a 3 grain or a 4 grain or do you know?
I don't know.
You really don't know. Okay, and that's fair enough. I mean, a lot of people don't know whether they're drinking a 4 grain or a 3 grain bourbon for the most part. 4 grains are harder to find. So, if you were to pick a bourbon outside of the Starlight or this type of pick, what's your everyday go to?
If I'm not drinking this, it's I got a bottle of Ezra Brooks open.
Okay, Ezra Brooks. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I got some Yellowstone. What else do I have open? I'm trying to recall what I have sitting there, but wide variety.
So, sounds like a lot of 3 grain high rye.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would definitely say he's a high rye guy,
Yeah.
for sure.
What about you, Chris?
My go-to, what I think is probably like the best value on the market, Russell's Reserve 10-year.
Okay. So you single barrel or white label?
Single barrel.
Okay. So you like the white label single barrel, not the actual like single barrel like store picks, the red label.
I like both, to be honest with you, and I usually keep one of each open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pick I want to go on. It's one that's eluded me. Is that Four Roses barrel pick?
Oh, Four Roses.
I mean, not Four Roses. Sorry, Wild Turkey.
Oh, yeah.
Russell's Reserve. Yeah. So that's one that's eluded me. I actually did Four Roses with the Bourbon Brotherhood, and I guess probably about 8 months ago, and it was a lot of fun. But 10 can be tough to decipher from.
Sure.
But Starlight. Starlight. I mean, the first time we did 2 barrel picks, I think we tried through 18 barrels that day. I mean, it was a lot. So
Our first pick, we should have paced ourselves better.
yeah.
Yeah.
You still found a winner. That's okay.
We did. We still really like it, but at the end of the day, we were like, this didn't taste exactly the way we remember it that day.
Yeah.
So we all we're happy with it. We like it, but we were very intentional on this pick. Be like, guys, you dump what you don't. Don't. We're gonna be very intentional on the number.
Spitters,
that we
not
taste.
quitters, huh?
Yeah.
I think that was the night that we opened the Armagnac, wasn't it?
What?
The night that I first tried the port again.
Yes, it was. Yep.
Because I tried it and I was like, this is not what we picked. I remember looking at your wife, Chris, and I was like, this isn't that good. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I was like, this can't be the one
That's
we
not
picked.
what you remembered, yeah.
But obviously, old trick, left it on the counter for a while, came back to it, and a case later, and do you have some?
I do. I've got 7 bottles left, but no, I would agree. It was coming off that first one, getting it, and I think part of it too was just there's that nostalgia factor missing, because we had a great day. It was great hospitality. Kind of elevated the senses.
Yes.
And so you come back to the bottle, and again, the first sip, I was like, oh, really? this is like, and it's good. I'm not saying it's not good. It is good, but it just, so you come back to it like, and a friend of mine that I gave the bottle to, he made that same comment. He said, you know what? He said, the first sip, I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. But he said, 2 weeks later, I revisited that bottle. He said, I loved it. And I just downed the thing.
So our first double oak pick that we did, which we were one of the first ones that were ever done, it was a single barrel. It was like that for me. Like when I was like, because we loved it the day that we bought it. Like we were like, man, this thing is so good. We couldn't wait to get it, and it was a charity pick, so we were super excited about getting it out to the masses.
I've got that one.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I do, yeah.
So we tried it, and I was just like, man. And then we got it back, and I was like, we literally went back and forth between it and one other bear. And oddly enough, that one went to what is the liquor store down there in downtown New Albany, right next to West Banco?
Oh, Bottles Unlimited.
Bottles Unlimited. So Bottles Unlimited got the sister barrel that we didn't pick.
Okay.
So when they got theirs in, I went and bought a bottle of it too, just to side by side them later on. I was like, oh yeah, this is what I remembered fighting about. So and Hillman was like, dude, I can't believe, he said we should have just bought both of them. I'm like, dude, you realize how much money we just spent on bourbon?
What was the label on that one?
That one was the Magic School Bus.
Yeah,
so,
I had that one.
Yeah, so the Magic School Bus was one, and it went over gangbusters, in that group and things to that nature. But it just, it was so good. But when I first got that bottle and I first opened it, when I got it home, I was just like, like I remembered it being sweeter, the day that we tried it. And when we got it open there, I was like, man, it's got some heat to it. It's got some legs. But like you said, it opened up, about a week later after sitting, after I got a good neck pour out of it, and it just changed it totally. So what's on the next front for liquid assets? Are you guys going to try to get outside the Starlight Barrel, or what's the thought process?
Yeah, we would like to do. Excuse me, I'm getting away from the mic. We would like to do another distillery. We're exploring, kind of going down the path of getting a liquor license, I think.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So open it up like real big, but I don't know.
I got to contact the Spirits of French Lick.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, Alan Bishop and them, they're great people. We did a pick with them through a liquor store, and all it went to Lexington, Kentucky. So, but we did that one for, I guess there was kind of a bad incident that happened there, and they wanted to recoup some money and help pay that back and fix it. So that's what we did that one for. So kind of a neat situation.
Yeah, I mean, we're fresh off getting this one, so
haven't really talked about it all that much.
We haven't. Yeah, we just got this one 10 days ago, bottled. So
So how many guys are in the group?
They're 10.
10, 12, something like that.
Yeah.
Why did you put up 2, Seth?
Because these guys are the man.
These are the 2 guys that really make the decisions. Is that what you're saying?
No, they're the pioneers.
The pioneers. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've it's just kind of small friends and family. My dad went on the pick. John's dad went on his dad came up from Alabama, went on the pick. His brother and sister-in-law. Yeah.
Your uncle came, didn't he?
So
Chelsea's uncle.
Her uncle. Yeah.
So you had a lot of women on the pick, sounds like.
We did. We had 4.
Yep.
3 or 4.
So I feel like women add a ton to a barrel pick.
I think so too.
I think their palates are totally different, and they add different value in those situations.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to get Jenna down here one time.
Yeah,
Jenna has a good palate.
She's putting the kids to bed right now, but she'll be down in a little bit.
I'm always curious about people's perspective, especially women, because I feel like their palates are typically in somebody, and it might have been Alan even that told me this. He's like, women were hunters and were gatherers, right? So they had to be able to go tell if something was good or bad or poisonous or things like that. So therefore, their palates are more delicate. They can taste more flavors. They can tell bitter easier. They can tell sweetness better. So like that's why I think you see a lot anymore these days. A lot of your master tasters and other things are women. So
absolutely,
it's always interesting.
Let's have a cheers for all those hunter-gatherers that tasted all those mushrooms and they didn't make it. And they let us know which mushrooms we could eat.
That way we know we can eat a chanterelle.
Yeah.
Of course you would say that.
All mushrooms are edible once.
All mushrooms are edible once. I hear you. Cheers. Salute. But yeah, for sure. All mushrooms are edible ones. I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't create
Tell
it.
that to a farmer next week.
We're gonna borrow that. So, Well, good deal, good deal. So let's pass this other Armagnac bottle around real quick, and we'll taste it and talk about it for a couple of seconds, and then man, you already just filled back up on the other one, didn't you? Here.
Well, I brought 8 glasses for a reason. So,
good deal. All right.
Yeah.
So take one down, pass it around. Will it be like the 99 bottles of beer on the wall?
Mm-hmm.
Have you pour that? So John, you're not from around here originally, are you?
Grew up in Southeast Alabama.
Southeast Alabama?
Yep.
All right.
Went to school at Auburn and grew up an hour south of Auburn.
So Auburn.
Eastern side of the state.
So Auburn is the veterinarian school, right?
Absolutely. My dad's actually a veterinarian.
Gotcha. So one of my favorite clients is a veterinarian. He opened a practice. Him and his wife both went to Auburn. Good folks, and I got introduced to them from their dad, which their dad was a graduate from Auburn, and he was a longtime horse veterinarian at Churchill Downs. He was one of my first business clients that I had whenever I worked at one of the mega banks back in the old days. So
nice.
I always appreciate the good old folks from down in that Auburn area of town. So
absolutely good veterinarian school.
Yeah, but your twang gave it away a little bit. You weren't from around here.
Not no. I've been up here since 07.
Since 07? All right. So you married into the Hoosier State, huh?
Sure did. Graduated Auburn in 07 and moved up here, and the rest is history. There's a story behind that, but that's another day.
That's another day, another dollar. All right. You know, women can talk you into all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah, my mother thought I would never have done that. She probably thought I was crazy, but I might have been.
Not your personality type to move around.
Exactly what she would say.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, anybody that gets married is crazy. You know,
12 years.
Dude, I've been married 26 years, so I've been married a long time. I got married 2 weeks before my 19th birthday, believe it or not.
Wow.
I mean, I've been married a long time.
So were you in between high school and college, or what?
So no. So we started dating at the end of my junior year of high school. So like I've literally.
And when did you pop the question? Were you in high school?
I was at the end of my senior year. Honestly,
you were a wild man.
I was crazy. Like so.
You're still a wild man, but
so it's one of those funny things. Is like I got around quite a bit. Like in my younger days, because my nearest brother is 7 years older than me. So I would go to college parties and do things like that when I was 16 years old, and I wasn't supposed to be there, but I looked like a grown-ass man when I was 14. I mean,
right.
Like, so it would be nothing for me to walk in a room and everybody would be like, oh, this dude's 19, 20, just like the rest of us. You know, they were sitting on college campuses, and I was, 15 years old at the time. So, I did a lot of partying with my brothers and stuff like that. So, it was one of those funny things that, like, the girls that I dated, they were just dumb. Like a lot of really, really just dumb girls. And my wife is super smart. So like, it was like, she was the only girl that ever was able to keep my attention for long enough. Like I tell stories this all the time that, there was girls when I dated them in high school and stuff, like literally I would hand my brother the phone and go like make a sandwich, go to the bathroom, take a shower, come back. And because we sounded so much alike, the girls didn't know the difference. And I would just be like, what were you talking about? And he'd be like, oh, we were talking about, and he'd tell me, and I'd be like, all right. So I'd pick up the phone and I'd be like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I'd just carry right on the conversation. Like I was there the whole time. Like, but they were so dumb. They had no idea that it wasn't me. So I was just like, dude, I can't date chicks like this. So,
but you're it leads you into what you're doing now. You're a very analytical person.
Oh no, 100%. Very analytical.
You're like, you need somebody else who's going to keep pace with, the ability to be smart about how things operate.
Yeah. And my wife is very quick-witted. She's very smart. She's a calculus teacher, so she knows numbers and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's definitely a weird thing. The funny thing is, so when we got engaged, everybody's like, so when does she do? And I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, when's the baby due? And I'm like, we're not having a baby. They're like, well, why are you getting married? And I'm like, shit, I never even thought about it. I thought like, this is what you're supposed to do, right? You meet a girl, you like her, you fall in love, you're like, hey, let's get married, but they're like, well, not this soon. So like literally, I mean, it all happened fast, but,
that's funny.
But 26 years later, it's still working pretty well, I guess.
There you go.
She still tolerates me.
Yeah.
So, man, this Armagnac smells delicious.
It does
delicious.
smell very good.
Yeah. So this is let's see, this is a 16 year. I thought it was 18. I'm sorry, it's 16 year. 49.6 proof.
Oh, so she's coming in low.
Yep. So it is La Encantada, a cellared cask strength, 2003.
Oh, that's good. That's real good. It's weird though. You get almost like some baking spices on that mid palate.
Mm-hmm.
That is weird.
Yeah, this bottle really kind of changed my perspective on, because I've been so bourbon focused and bourbon forward, and it just kind of opened my eyes to, this is a good gateway drug, I guess, to other spirits if you're a bourbon person.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever hung out in Warehouse 1 before Ted and them started moving everything around, but they have some, 10, 15-year-old, brandies that are in there that are just absolutely delicious.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is just really good. Super light.
I will say for me, the nose hits harder than the profile hits when you taste it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Personally,
Agree with
quite a
you.
lot.
Yeah, it's a little boozier, the nose is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that I find brandies do that in general. That's the reason I was surprised that the bourbon was so delicate, was because of the fact that typically that's when you get those brandies finished, even on a bourbon or a rye, that nose is typically kind of boozy. It comes through.
So I'm going to ask this question. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. In the coatings world, we deal with a lot of these coatings basically off-gassing their solvents, right? This is an alcohol, so solvent of form, I guess, right?
Okay.
Is the viscosity much different on an Armagnac, brandy, etc.?
I mean,
Do you know?
so I would think that they would be very similar, but I mean, just like even with bourbon, you'll see some that have tremendous amount of legs versus others. I think it pulls a lot of the oils from actually the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense.
So I think, depending on what type of barrel they're in, what else, is in that.
How long it's been in there?
How long it's been in there. Even the fruit variety, I think, is going to pull off something different. If it's a grape versus a pear, if it's a, people are making blueberry brandy now. People are making watermelon brandy. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are out there. And I think all of those are going to give off a different legs or volume based off of all those different sugars and the compounds that come off of it. And then, like I said, I think a lot of it really comes from the barrel. So, and a lot of them are being finished not in new oak. They're getting finished in something that was bourbon before or rye before, or, sometimes it's, it could come from Scotland. It could be finished in a Scotch cask. So,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the biggest thing right now is with the used barrel market it's just insane. I mean, there's just so many opportunities to reuse those barrels and things of that. I saw one that Starlight did not that long ago that was like some kind of beer finish that was finished in something else, or I was just like,
I saw that.
Like,
I saw that one too.
I'm like, dude, how do I get a taste of that? Because I've had some really, really nice stuff, and I told Rick Odie, I don't know if you know Rick at Donham Day.
I know, but he doesn't know me, but yes, I know.
Gotcha.
Who he
So
is,
Rick, he when he does those unicorns, they usually get their barrels from Four Roses, and they do the drunken unicorn over St. Patrick's Day in there. And I'm like, dude, you need to now refill that with, some of your whiskeys, and see what happens.
That's a great idea.
I think the profile that beer and that stouts, give off, or porters, it just illuminates that sugar and the coating, and things to that nature. I just really enjoy those.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite collabs was the Bardstown Bourbon Company and Goodwood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did a couple of really, really nice ones that were just delicious. So, yeah, this is really enjoyable. So, all right, Seth, what's your poison, man, if you're not drinking your own barrel picks?
Until, I don't know, probably the last year and a half, I would say I like Old Ezra 7. I'm an Old Ezra 7 guy.
Oh, yeah.
I like that one a lot. Chris and I have a similar profile palette, maybe.
You're a turkey guy, too?
I really like the Russell 10-year. He's the one that turned me on to it. And I only started drinking bourbon 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
I took my brother and this yahoo over here trying to let me try different things and teaching me stuff. But I'll also go quite heavily to Elijah Craig. And I'm not anything Buffalo Trace guy. I don't like Eagle Rare that much.
Really?
Right. So I like some Eagle Rares, but I don't like all of them. Not all Eagle Rares are created equally. And I'm the same way with Buffalo Trace as well.
Maybe that's what it is for me, because I've had some that I was like, there might have been a 6-month gap in between tasting this one to that one, but taste this one, I'm like, okay, I can see why people like Eagle Rare. And then I taste another one, and I'm like, stuff is not very good. So it might be that difference, but
Yeah.
I do like several Buffalo Trace items. Obviously, some of the ones that are harder to find, but just kind of my solid go-to is really a lot of the Starlight stuff. And I do love finished stuff, especially nowadays. Like I have, I think there's like 17 finishes from Starlight up on the bar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
98% of them are empty, but I just love the collection of labels just
Yeah.
to be able to see that. But I
The
like a lot of those.
kaleidoscope look.
So,
Yeah.
so of all the things you tried, and I'm going to throw out the cigar batch, the embryonic cask. What's your favorite Starlight Pick? What's your favorite flavor? And that goes for all of you. I don't know who else tried what.
I have top
I've
three.
gone through two bottles of the maple.
Okay, maple.
That one was good.
That stuff is good.
My top three, unless you are ready to fire, Chris.
No, go ahead, buddy.
My top three in this order: sherry.
Okay.
I absolutely love that one. I love the dark color of it too. Sherry finish.
Have you had the PX sherry?
No, let me get on that train. But sherry, and then actually the one that you were part of, I think, was the Applejack Brandy. Was that
Oh, yeah,
part
the
of your
Applejack Brandy,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was with Maker 13.
Yep.
That one was number 2 probably. I love the honey barrels, but I think the port took a little bit of a step up on the honey barrels. I really like the honey barrels.
Gotcha.
There's a couple of them that I had that I were meh, but
Yeah,
I think
they're
I
not
actually
all
liked.
created equal.
I think I actually liked the bourbon better than the rye that they did of that one too. Me and Josh Hillman were talking about that, but I don't know. The bourbon seemed to finish better, even though a lot of the ryes for me tend to finish better. Like I typically will prefer of finishes a rye over a bourbon.
Right. All right, Chris.
If we're gonna looking at the Starlight finishes, I would have to say that probably top 3 I'd probably rank as VDN, port, and probably maple.
There we go. All right. So
Yeah.
I'm with you on at least 2 of those. I like I love the VDN. It's up there. I like the maple a lot. And I'm going to throw one out. And at first I did not like it at all, but it's really, really grown on me, is the Tokai.
I do have a Tokai finish. It's pretty decent. Yeah.
Some of the
I don't.
Tokais they've grown on me quite a bit. So at first when I started drinking them, they were too sweet. But I found that they just seem to hone in. And I prefer it on a rye than I do on a bourbon. So, all right.
So I bring up a topic too, because Seth made me think of this. There's so many people out there that'll tell you they don't like bourbon,
Right.
or even whiskey in general, because their first introduction to that was like, here, take a shot.
Yeah.
You know, like something horrible, throwing it back, getting sick, you know. So there's definitely a right way to have your first bourbon or whiskey experience, I should say. So for all the listeners that might hear that, like,
So if your buddy comes up to you, it's happened to me with a Wild Turkey, was it 101?
101, yeah.
I'm not really a fan of that, so I don't drink it.
Dude, I will bring you a bottle of 1994 101. And
Double
you will
shot,
love it.
but
You
it
will love
was. I'll drink that. Double shot. Here, try this bourbon. What? Like in hindsight,
Yeah.
terrible.
Right.
But
It was a bad idea to do a
that's
double
how,
shot at one time, yes.
Yeah, that's how people were trying to get me to try bourbon. So the intro was stiff.
That was my first bourbon drink too at 7 was a Wild Turkey 101.
at 7.
My Uncle Pete. I just kept asking him. I thought they were drinking sweet tea. Because they had it in a rocks glass. It looked like tea. And I was like, I want to drink.
Yeah.
I want to drink. I want to drink. And my dad and my Uncle Pete were just like, no, shut up, go away, like that. And then after, like, guess I just bugged the piss out of them, that whole like, dad. And they're like, what? So finally my Uncle Pete's like, here, have a big swig. So I grabbed it, chugged it. Next thing you know, I'm puking everywhere.
I'm sure.
7 years old, Wild Turkey 101.
And they're probably laughing their ass off.
Oh, they were. They had the best time with that one. So, but anyway, well, all right. You got some wise life choices from Chris.
I'm trying. Yeah.
Throwing out some nuggets.
Yeah.
I think most people who listen to the podcast probably know that, but
True. How do we broaden this audience?
that's the big thing. We got to broaden the audience.
You're going to have to change
Get
the
the noobs in here.
name of the podcast for this episode. It's not Bourbon Barrel Talk. It's Wine Cooler Talk or something.
Absolutely. Well, man, thanks for having me out. I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate the fellowship and letting me try a few of these barrels. And I'm glad you could tell people what your experience was like on a barrel pick and give them a little bit of hindsight on how that works. And we were able to find out a little bit more about what you like, which is always fun. So that way, when we dive in further episodes or we talk more later, that, I have an idea of where we're leading. So I appreciate you guys having me on. If you're looking for listen to Bourbon Barrel Talk, you can find us on any of the social media platforms to talk to us. We on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those good things. You can also download us on Apple iTunes, Spotify, and my favorite medium is Spotify, but Google Podcast and also Pandora now. This is Scott signing off with Chris, Seth, and John. Peace out.